Hello, good evening. This is me, Preeti Chaudhary, here on yet another episode of Rainbow Professionals via LinkedIn Live. Good evening, one and all. My guest here today is just with me. He will be joining me very shortly. Just a couple of reminders. Please let those questions and comments keep coming in. Show us some love, show us some encouragement, show us some support. This live session is for you. So, as much as possible, please be interactive and ask all your questions away. With that, let me pull in Dipjyoti into the stream and we will get going. Here you go. This is Rainbow Professionals with me, Preeti Chaudhary, and my guest today here is Dipjyoti Gogoi.
Hi Preeti, good
Hello.
evening.
Hi. How are you today?
I'm doing good. How are you, Preeti?
I am well, thank you. Welcome to this episode of Rainbow Professionals, Dipjyoti.
Thank you.
I am raring to go, and such a fascinating story. So I want to really get the conversation started and dive deep into what is your story been as a human, as a professional, as somebody who has been an outright supporter within the community and outside. So, with that, let me take you right at the beginning of it all. Please tell us a little bit more about where you're from, a little bit on your family background and your siblings, etc., just to set the tone of this conversation, and we will pick it from there. Dipjyoti,
Yeah,
all yours.
yeah, sure. So my name is Deep Jyoti Gogoi. I'm an Assamese, so I am from Assam. About my family, I have lost my parents at quite an young age. When I lost my dad, I was 13, and when I lost my mom, I was 21. So right now, I have two elder sisters, and they're well settled. They're married. I have nephews and nieces. They both are back in Assam, and for the past 7 years, I'm staying in Bangalore and I'm working in Bangalore. That's about me, Preeti. What else should I talk about?
Right. So tell us a bit more about your school life. Did you go to school in Assam itself? Where in Assam?
So I belong from the oil town of Assam, which is Duliajan. Both my parents were working there, and yes, I was studying. I mean, I've studied in a convent school, which is quite strict in Assam. Um, um, and in school, I was quite a playful guy, or as I say, playful kid, I would say, because I used to play badminton during that those days for my district, and for almost 6 years, I was engrossed in playing badminton, and in school, it was pretty normal convent school. 9 to 3 school, 3 to you come back home, get freshen up, and you go to stadium. You play badminton for a while, you practice, then you come back, then you have your tuitions, then you come back, and again you study at home, then uh, watch TV, spend some time with your family, and sleep off. So that was a normal. My school was pretty normal. I never had any instance where I have faced any kind of negativity or discrimination because maybe uh, people were not aware of me. Also, even I wasn't aware of myself, if I have to tell you. I was not very sure about it. Of course, the attraction was there, the awareness was there, but I didn't know the definitions and terms and what are we, and if this is normal, if this is natural, this exists and all those stuff. I didn't know at that time. So till youth, till 12th standard, I was in Assam, and after that, I was sent to Dehradun. First time I got my freedom, and I got to know
So
about.
tell us, yeah. So Divjyoti, one moment, just hold that thought right there. So I know, from a nice and protected environment in the sense with family back in the hometown in a convent to suddenly being into a boarding school, and that too far away from home to Dehradun of all places. So how was that experience? How did that go about? What were you thinking? What were you feeling? And how did you cope with that? Tell us a bit more about that. All yours.
So Assam to Dehradun itself sounds quite bizarre, right? So, as I said, I belong from the place where you have a lot of oils and the job security is good over there. So all the parents they want their kids to get settled down in those particular domains. So one of my cousins was actually studying petroleum engineering in Dehradun, the one and only petroleum university in Asia. And now, thanks to him, he was the informer, and he have asked. So my mom was a nurse, so she wanted three of us, at least three, me, my two elder sisters, at least either one of us to become a doctor, which didn't happen. My elder sister, she became an engineer, and my younger sister, she chose humanities and economics. And I wasn't very much interested in medical, so I told her that I want to do some professional courses. So then I went to that professional university to study oil and gas marketing, and yeah, that's where I went there, and it was a very different experience because from a person who doesn't share anything at home, he has gone to a place where he has to share his room with two more roommates. So I remember my elder sister. She told me that these particular years are going to be the best days of your life, and actually, it is true. If I have to tell you, and that's when a lot of discover about myself, not only about the orientation, also about what am I like, what are the things I like, and what are the things I can take it in my life, and which I something which I cannot take. The discovery of Deep Jyoti was actually happening in Dehradun for the 4 5 years, and yeah, I've got a lot of clarity over there. And once I started working in Bangalore, also I got a lot of other clarity about myself.
Tell me, let me take you back to a little bit, a bit more sort of a life defining and life changing thing that happened while you were in Dehradun as well. You know, while we were talking earlier, you said that something very profound happened as well in your personal life that has had a very big impact onto you personally. So tell us a little bit more about what exactly did you mean by that, and what did that incident rather have an effect on you? What kind of an effect, and how did that change you as a person, Divjyoti?
Yes, so that was during my final year. Like after my final year, I was placed in Castrol. I was in Mumbai. I was working in Mumbai, and that was the time when I lost my mom. So I somewhere down the line had a very a very weird connection with my mother. That of course every son and a mother would have a good connection. I know that, but yeah, of course with me there was a very different connection. My mother was very broad-minded, very mature, and I wanted to tell her about myself as well. I was just waiting for the good time, but somewhere I feel she already knew about me. I have got a couple of reactions or expressions or questions. I can understand that, but that was the time when I felt very alone, and I was under depression for some time. I quit my job. I again started from the scratch. In Bangalore. Uh, until now, that particular incident has impacted all my decisions of my life. So that is something, yes. And I think I have seen my life pretty soon, both in terms of as a son, as a brother, or in fact as a boyfriend also, if I have to say. I have had a couple of relationships. So I think I have seen almost all those fears of life by now, and the jokes apart, these days in quarantine, apart from doing my job, I'm mostly making what will be my future plans. So I don't see myself working. I see myself as a businessman. So I would be exploring different business plans, adventures, and all those stuff.
Tell me something else, that brings me. You've just brought your two sisters into the whole equation. Tell me your relationship with them. Is it like the, fighting relationship, or you're the only brother by the sound of it, and you're right in the middle? One's older, one's younger. So are you the Aankhon Ka Tara brother for both of them, or did you sort of bully the one younger to you and got bullied by the one older from you, in the sense, all in the game with brother sister, how we all are. We get the elder ones bully the younger ones, and the youngest one takes an advantage of all of us. So how is that with between the three of you?
Okay, so I was not able to explain clearly. I am the youngest, so I have two elder
Oh,
sisters.
sorry. Okay.
I have two elder sisters above me.
So
So and the differences are 9 years and 10 years. So they are not only elders; they are actually quite elders. Uh, we never had any bully kind of relationship. They were always very matured, and they're caring. They're very very caring, and you know. But I have seen like people, especially girls, they do get busy in their lives once they get a husband and kids. So I think I understand that. But yeah, we have a very mature relationship. We don't talk much. They know about me, but somewhere down the line they also expect me to get married. That's a different equation I have. You know, that's again I cannot blame them because they are from Assam, and there's no much of awareness in that place from the very beginning. Um, at least people don't take it as a disease there. There are a lot of things which is been wiped off, but yeah, acceptance is still not there, and it's only over the top talks that we do these days. Only about being safe. That's all. Nothing else beyond that. I mean, it's
So which
not a
means
very
that
close relationship. Also, it's not a very bad. Also, I can say.
So, which means that with the age gap of 9 and 10 years, then you are the most pampered one. Then I would say the baby of the house. That is a nice position to be at. I'm the oldest in my house, and I know, I have two younger sisters, so I can imagine, how you feel towards the youngest one or the one immediately after you. So at least from that sense, they would have actually made sure that you were pampered, you were well looked after, and they didn't sort of do any mischief with you at least. Amongst them, they would have been fighting cats and dogs because, two girls always fight. There's no two ways about that. No,
I
different.
still remember. I still remember. They fight. They fight a lot amongst themselves. But I still remember we have pictures in my house where uh, my sisters were around 9, 10 years of age, and I was just a toddler, or not even a 1 year old. So they have taken me on their lap and taken pictures. So yeah, I think yes, there were a lot of pamperings. But what has happened is when I grew up, they went to college and they went to their college days, and after that they got married. So by the time I became a little matured, and to build a bond, they were not at home. They
Yeah.
went to their in-laws. So that is what it was. I was alone with my mother. So that's what, like, my mom was like my friend. um, and she was also like, yes, I was a spoiled kid, kind of, you can say, badly pampered, and everything goes to my mother. And that's what even till now, all my uncles and aunts, they keep saying that. I can't help
Okay,
it.
well, that's good. That's good. Happy memories. At least that is something to hold on to in difficult and tough times, I'm sure. Let's move to your move to Bangalore then. From Bombay, you moved to sort of Bangalore. How was that? Did you already have a job in hand, or was it a bit of a find to find this new job, or how did all of that happen? Can you take us a little bit through that journey, please, Divjoti?
Yeah, so I went back home. I went back to my sister's place in Assam from Mumbai, and I was there for a couple of days. And one of my school friends, he was working in Bangalore, so he just happened to know that I quit my job and I went back home. So he just checked, just to ensure that what's happening with me. He called me, and just in the middle of the discussion, we got this plan that okay, come to Bangalore and see what you want to do. If you just like it, otherwise just take it as a break. And I just took it as like a trip. I have never been to South in my entire life before that. Uh, but I came here, and I initially the plan was not to work. It was just like a break or a vacation. Then I came here, and I was staying with him, and navigating websites of jobs, or dating websites and all other websites, your Orkut, Facebook, everything. And I found a job opportunity, which my friend told me that I think you should grab it, just for it was an auditing job. So they said, nobody gets an auditing job in the first time. I think you should try for it. I said, okay, fine, I'll give an interview, and I got a job. That's when I started working, because the first company that I worked for was Target Corporation, which is one of the brilliant companies that I worked for. Amazing work culture. So that was, I spent almost 3.5 years there. So that's how one job led to another, and then another, and today here I'm in Refinitiv. So that is how the time is going on in Bangalore. I'm not able to go out of Bangalore. It's kind of I'm back, but as well as I'm happy as well.
So, how was working life then as a professional? Working in a couple of companies, and that too, big multinational companies which are very open and very receptive to all kinds of um, things and diversity and inclusion and so on and so forth. How was it working, and was it conducive? Were you happy as a professional, as a person? Were all your emotional and mental needs being met? How was that experience? Please take us through that a little bit with
So
Jyoti.
nowadays, nowadays it's kind of a must for all the corporate companies to infuse a culture called inclusion and diversity in their work culture. So I have seen all these inclusion and diversity campaigns and awareness creating about LGBT, and in fact, in Refinitiv, in my current company, we have a common gender working room as well, workroom as well. So there are a lot of awarenesses and and projects and campaigns going on. I think since I'm working since 2012, so I can say at least from 2012 I have seen in almost all my companies. Off late, it's happening a lot, yes, on a grander manner, and now it is almost. Um, all the corporate companies are trying to do the same, campaigns. They try to create awareness. They'll hire a couple of people, or they will go and take part in job fairs. This is what I have seen. In Refinitiv, in my current company, what I see is the acceptance is there. Now there's a two different way. One is how well the people are accepting when you are bragging about something and creating any awareness, and also at the same time, what projection are you giving? What is the LGBT crowd, making the other people think about them? So I think it's a two-way job. In corporate culture, I think the world is getting more warmer towards us nowadays, and acceptance is there. And there are a couple of people you can't even blame them, because we are in a country where things are more of opinionated than actual and factual. So they don't want to digest. They just go by what they have heard or what they have seen. So that's from the professional front I see, and I see a lot of campaigns happening, but at the same time, probably we have not reached to that level where people are actually really really comfortable working with the LGBT crowd, if we talk about. Because couple of people who they are not aware of who I am, they tend to pass some comments in my presence, which I get to know. Okay, this is what they think about. So I am not a very open person in my office. Of course, couple of my close peers they know about me because I have disclosed about myself. But whoever is a part of inclusion and diversity, I give them ideas that how more practical we can make our campaigns and make people accepted in the work culture. So I have,
Right. So,
on a personal front, I have never faced any discrimination, even though when I have disclosed about myself to any one of my friends, um, including my sisters as well, I have never faced any discrimination or any question or any kind of negativity. And of course, when I talk about some of the people, they are actually really glad that I have disclosed about myself to them, and they know that these things are actual, real. So, and you build more close bond with them. So that's how I have couple of people in my close set of circle. And even at office, I feel education from a straight person's point of view will help them more to understand the LGBT culture. That's what I feel. So that's what I do is I'm not sure if you're able to catch my point. So people with whom I'm not open, people who are not aware of me, and I think they can't even predict about me. So I tell certain things about our people, LGBT people, that they change their opinion, they change their viewpoint. So that's how I think I'm doing my part. Otherwise, pretty you won't find me going and standing in any prides, or attending any weekend parties. I am quite a very reserved person in my own life.
well, that's fair enough because each one to their own, and everybody is sort of doing whatever in whichever capacity is right for them for a particular cause that they believe in. It doesn't have to be a cookie cutter approach in any case, Jyoti. One size fits all. It can never be that. So it's absolutely all right as long as you're doing something that is more important than how and what you're doing, right? So absolutely spot on with that. Another thing, what are your own observations in terms of, the general society, the life, in terms of the community? What do you think are the right and the wrongs in terms of self projection, and how can we sort of ourselves, we as people, to sort of break those inhibitions and help other people be comfortable, ourselves be comfortable, and other people be comfortable? What are your thoughts around that, Vidyoti?
So what I feel is like we expect people to understand us. Yeah, we expect people to see us in a certain way, or relate to our emotions and expressions whenever we say or talk about it. But I think it's a give and take relationship. Otherwise you would be misunderstood. First of all, we should see the country where we are. It's something which is not very advanced. So when people here are more no, they don't go by facts. They just go by talks or what they have seen. So when you have people like that, it is also, I think, our responsibility that what we are telling us about ourselves to them. Otherwise, they have very one notion of pictures. Otherwise, they have in their mind, and I think this is something which I don't see much in the people from abroad. I think we Indians have this lack of knowledge, I would say, or acceptance. So I think somewhere down the line we should be doing, you know, like if you are comfortable in a girl attire, if you're a little feminine, and if you want to address yourself as a her, I think you should go for it. You should show it to the world. You will of course face some discrimination, but it is, I think, our responsibility that we are showing more and more to the society and telling them this is pretty normal for us. And I think the sooner you accept it, it's good for you as well, because these things do exist. Similarly, having said that, I think we should, I am always in favor of getting married. I want lots of gay guys getting married, because that's what I seen in abroad. People do get married, and you never know, that could be one of the reasons where the marriage was sanctioned in that country. So I think it is one of our responsibilities. We should work towards something serious relationships and live-ins together. I know we are we catch up every weekend. We do get together. We do party on every weekend on every major cities, and also whenever the time comes, we do stand together and walk the road and walk the pride. But the people will accept it only when what they see from the other set of the people, they will be able to see from you as well. So if my uncle and aunt is seeing that my sister has a boyfriend, and because that's something they have been seeing it, they cannot accept the fact that I can have a boyfriend, right? So the more and more we show it to them, maybe in future generations, I think people will accept us. And already because of the verdict and the freedom that the Supreme Court has given, I think there is no one to point a finger or raise a word, but internally, like people don't accept it. That I know, and I think somewhere down the line we should be. Um, and as I was discussing with you, PT, we have a lot of talent in our society, a lot of talent pool, be it in terms of skills you say, or in terms of any art you say. LGBT guys are really talented. And I think it's one of the blessings from God that I have seen everybody, some of the other talent they have, which normally I don't see in other guys. And also in corporates also, and in terms of leaders, I know a couple of them, they're very good. They have good leadership skills. So I think we should be involving ourselves in more and more awareness campaigns, such as, I don't know, probably uh, one of the very good initiatives was job fair, where of course, end of the day, when these things comes up at the same time, I also feel that it's at the end of the day we are people, we have same skills. I don't need a separate job fair for me. But I think this is a way, one of a way of standing out and speaking out, because when you have to uh, say something to the crowd, you need to stand up. So I think, of course, it was not required but needed, you can say. So I would like to take the opportunity, this opportunity, and thank the Pride Circle, which I have never got, and I think I should utilize this opportunity. So thank you so much. One of my friend, he knew about it, and he just asked me to just walk in, and I went there, and the things just went on then. And my serious apologies to the Pride Circle group, because I know last year they have also organized a party to all the ones who got hired, and I was not able to be a part of it because I'm not that I'm antisocial, but actually I was a little occupied. So my apologies to you, but very good initiative. And I'm not really a creative guy in terms of all these initiatives, but I think we should do more and more initiatives like these job fairs.
Sure. Okay. Very insightful. Actually, you are someone that knows their mind and that speaks it really well, and also is not afraid of speaking your mind. So that is very commendable, Divyoti. Stay like this for the rest of your life, please. Now, tell me
That
something.
that has ended me in a lot of trouble,
I know you will. I
Jyoti.
know you will be this, so no question, no doubts in my mind about that at all. So tell me, friend, what is it that you want to do? Do you want to work for somebody else all your life, or is there any plan that you are, going to follow through? Are you going to be an entrepreneur? What are you going to be eventually?
Um, if you ask me, I really don't like working. Seriously, if life would have survived without working, that would have been really nice. I envy my pet. He has such a nice life. That he can sleep. But if you ask me, I am a workaholic person. Um, what do I say now? I mean, I don't see myself becoming a CEO or a board of director of any corporate companies, but I do see myself, I do have a plan of learning a technical skill and also change my work domain and get into a different field, because it's been almost 5 years or maybe 4.5 years I'm managing teams. I'm in a team manager position. So not that I'm really bad with people, I think I'm really good with people. But sometimes I like to work in terms of more advancement. So work-wise, I do see myself working for at least another 10 years, and maybe later that I'm really not good in business. You need to have a lot of convincing skills and powers and all those stuff, which I don't have. So I don't think I can become an entrepreneur. But I do have a plan of, I have a couple of land at my dad's or my grandpa's place, where I do want to do something for the women empowerment. And in Assam, the handloom is really famous. So uh, I have spoken about this, but this is after 10 years. I want to create a small handloom textile factory. And I know a lot of people in my village, women who would want to work and create some job opportunities for them. I'm more of into providing more jobs to others than me getting more secure. That's what I feel. Yeah, I don't know what I'll do apart from that, because I don't make
That's
plans.
okay. That's all
10 years.
right. It's good. It's all right to not know what you want to do. So that's perfectly all right, because each of us are evolving with each day. We are figuring ourselves out. We still thinking, evolving, trying this. If it's not working, we're dropping that. We're picking up something else which is working for us. It's all life is all about hits and trials and hits and misses, my friend. So absolutely okay
But
and
uh,
good on with that. Yeah,
yeah,
go for it.
so somewhere down the line, I always feel and I always have this desire to do something for our people or for our society. I really don't know how and what way I will be helpful, because most of the opportunities I have always turned down. But yeah, I would be really helpful if I get a medium or a forum where I can educate or create opportunities for our society as well. Along with I think it's high time. I think we should move on from that topic, that some gays exist to show to the world that what all gays can do. Yeah, or if I have to say for the entire LGBT community. Sorry, I'm addressing gay because I'm gay. So I think we have to move on from that phase, that from we do exist, from that motion to now we need to tell people that what we can do. And I sincerely believe we have a lot of talents in our society. So I don't know why people are not coming out and pursuing it seriously. I don't see my country pressuring us too much also these days. But I don't know. Somewhere down the line, I think we have lost the track, or we've lost. We've got kind of stabilized. I think our next step should be, apart from decriminalizing the act, our next step should be to um, legalize the weddings, something like that. It's not, the journey is still there. So probably we can do something beyond those, apart from creating job opportunities. Because yeah, if even if you don't create any opportunities, people are very strong in LGBT society. They're very perceived and strong. They will find a way and they'll find an opportunity. But this was something which is, telling to the world that I would reiterate again. So yeah, that's what.
Tell me something. With this comes hopes and dreams. What are your hopes and dreams for yourself, for the community, and for the society at large? What do you think will help sort of put all of this into perspective? The hits and misses, what might work, what might not work, what to take in, what to let go. Your hopes and dreams, Divyoti.
Hopes and dreams, which keeps changing every now and then, because I dream a lot. I am a daydreamer. I don't mind saying that, but I definitely want to see. Um, if you ask me, the expectation is not from the people, or the janta. The expectation is not from my relatives. The expectation is from our own people, from our own society. That how, what's the next step? What are we doing next? You know, those days where people used to, go and stand and speak for us. I really envy that, and we have won those days. Now I think, of course, we don't have to go back to those, I hope. But I think somewhere down the line, it's more of, making believe that we do exist and getting the next step. I think from the society, if we can do something towards legalizing the marriage, which, so the equal rights, right? We're fighting about equal rights. So when out of three rights, if in one country out of two, if they have three out of three, and in your country you have only one, what about the rest two? So that would be the expectation from the society, and let's see how well our guys are able to incorporate. And um, dreams, I really want to get a little stabilized in a professional life as of now, because 3.5 years I worked for one company, Target. Then I worked for Wipro for 2.5 years. And then finally I joined this company. Now I want to sustain a little stabilized professional career for a while, maybe around 5, 6 years. And the best part is, in this company, I already have examples where people are staying for almost 15, 16 years. So I think this company, and especially during the lockdown times, I think I realized this company is good. So, no pay cut, no, and they're taking good care of the employees. We are declared work from home till the end of the year. So,
Okay.
yeah, so the employee safety is how planned and advanced they are. So, I think I'll stay for a while in this company and work towards my career and development. And it's a new domain for me. Investment banking is a new domain for me. When Wipro, I was working in AI, which is a technical
Uh-huh.
background, and in Target,
Yeah.
I was in retailing. So, and I have studied marketing.
So it's good, no? A potpourri of things, because then that is making you into this well-rounded Divyoti Gogoi that you are today. So change is always good, isn't it?
Yeah, somewhere down the line, I feel, and also, it's a good challenge. I like to take challenges. Otherwise, I get bored very easily. That's one of my demerits. So yeah, when things are tough, I think that's what keeps me going. Things are easy, I take it easy.
Are you a Gemini by any chance? Because I'm a Gemini, and I get bored pretty soon, very quick. Also, if I don't have like 10 things happening at the same time, I will do them with the same intensity, with the same integrity, and I'll finish them all. But I need more than one thing to keep me occupied properly in my head, in my mental capacities. Are you like that?
I am not Gemini, but yes, of course, I am impatient, and I am not. I am Taurian actually, and
Okay.
I have all the traits of pure Taurian. Um, and I think, yeah, strong-headed, open-minded, outspoken, short-tempered. I have all these traits.
What date in May are you then?
11th.
Okay, I'm 23rd, so that is why not too far away. You have the traits of both, and I also have the fag end of the Taurians and the good thing of the Gemini, the entire thing of the Gemini. So That is why, there's a little bit of a personality sort of overlap over here. Because what you're talking, I can totally identify with what you're saying, because that's little bit, even I am like that. So need a lot of challenges to keep myself gainfully occupied, and all my mental faculties, in sharp focus. Otherwise, oh my God, it gets too boring. Well, that's really nice though. So that sort of brings me, towards the end of our beautiful, wonderful conversation, wherein you've told me so many things about you, and I'm going to be sort of going back and you know contemplating on this conversation in terms of how that has sort of evolved you, your life experiences have shaped you as a person, and wherein you have come out as a person. A lot of things have happened. So you lost your mom, you lost your dad, and then you're pretty much a self-made man to what you are today. So that is something which I will take away from this conversation. So thank you for sharing that. But as a parting comment, is there any advice that you would like to talk to maybe allies or maybe even to the community people in terms of what do you think are the ways wherein allies can be of help, and how do you think people from the community they can sort of channelize help within the community and be well adjusted people outside in the society at large? Over to you.
I think especially guys and girls, there are four letters, right? LGBT. So um, I think L and G, they both are doing good in terms of being independent, creating an identity in this world, and winning their individual life goals. But I think what we should be doing, if I have to tell you in a very crispy way, I would like to see more and more transgenders in our office. I want them working and sitting together with us at our desk. And that's when people's opinion would change. And nowadays, most of the corporate companies, they just hire minimal share, and it feels like they have done it just for the heck of doing it. Otherwise, rather that person becomes more uncomfortable. In fact, being in that crowd alone, working alone. I have seen that phase as well when one person was hired and felt very uncomfortable. Because your facial expressions and you get a vibe, right? So if we can create more job opportunities towards them, I think that would be good. Otherwise, guys are doing good. Girls will also do good, I'm sure. And in terms of being an entrepreneur or an artist, or in terms of corporate job, I think all are doing good. That would be my expectation, and I would love to associate myself in that. That would be one of the requests to all the guys who are always watching us, and also to the Pride Circle. Not that I consider them to be minority. Of course, we are equal. I don't consider them to be minority. That's the reason I want to see them more in my office. That is what I feel. If you can do something for that, that would be great. And I forgot what else we were asking.
So that is within the community, but as allies, what do you think allies can do to make it more, how shall I say, an equitable world, where there is equity and where there's acceptance and where there is diversity and where there is inclusion? What can we as allies do?
See, whenever you make someone independent, that person can win the life, the war of his or her own life, right? So I think more than bringing equality or making them a feel of a part of the not minority status and all, I think we should make them independent. And if you ask me in detail, if I am a part of a community, ally group where we are working towards the development of a society, then I would go and get in touch with big corporate companies, and I would want to change their opinion and get a little convincing from there, and to create more opportunities for the transgenders in their office and corporate cultures, along with gays and lesbians. And we do see inclusion and diversity towards the specially able people. You will have variety of specially able people. Someone who's not able to see, someone who's not able to walk, someone who cannot speak, right? So then why not towards this society as well? Why are we discriminating one person? And when we create these job opportunities, the hunger in our people will grow more. People would be interested to enhance their skills and uplift themselves more, because they know that the world is out waiting outside and they have opportunities. So I think it's again, would motivate both the side of the society, and I would do that. And if I was, and that's something if anybody, any of our alike could do. And in the next job fair, I'm sure it's going to happen every year across the cities in India. And in next one, if we have more and more opportunities for transgenders or equal opportunities, if you see, that would be really happy. I would be really happy to see that.
Thank you so much for sharing that. Indeed, I can totally understand where you're coming from with that respect, because there is a massive change that needs to be done in that particular space that you just spoke about. So, thank you very much for bringing that out in the open. With that, Dibjyoti, I would like to say a big thanks to you for coming here today, for talking to me, sharing your life, your story, your trials, tribulations, success, failures, and everything else in between. Thank you to our attendees, our listeners, and viewers that have been very patient with us. Thank you so much for being here for the curation, Pride Circle. Thank you for the back and support and curation. And to Echo Events for our streaming partners.